Welcome back, folks, to World of Warships Legend. Today, we're going to talk about the Trento in the Italian cruiser line. Finally, a name I can pronounce in this line. And this is absolutely one of my favorite lines. And actually, once I learned how to play the ship, this is actually one of my favorite cruisers in the game. This whole line is probably my favorite. We'll talk about this cruiser line a little bit more in the video. They have a lot of traits that are very similar across this line. So let's get into the build. And I use Sansonetti. You can use Mimbelli as well. I know there's that option on the table. Now, as always with this line, you're not going to start off with SAP. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. I will talk about that here in a second. But beyond range, and these two perks are the ones that you're going to want to change when you have SAP. If you don't have the SAP yet, you're better off doing the HE and the AP damage instead of the subtle manipulations and the home run. Now, when you have SAP, you could choose before it's too late or home run. Honestly, in this ship, because these are like steroid destroyers for me, I kind of know where the destroyers are, or I try to know where they are, particularly more than I do in another ship. So I do take the range a little bit because you can catch people with these slow torps. They're a very long range, and that does help quite a bit. Again, on the legendary perk, I take fully packed because that extra smoke really does help. Inspirations are Kuznetsov and Membeli. So for the range and the reload, and let's get over here. This does have smoke. I wouldn't take the AA. The AA, defensive AA, just not worthwhile. These smokes are what make these ships unique and a lot of fun, along with the SAP, which I highly recommend use. We'll talk about that later. And if you want, you can put a camo on it to help with your detectability in your fire dispersion. So for upgrades, now on this line, I've mentioned it before on these videos out in this playlist. You could take the uh, traverse speed. These are very slow traverse. Just because of my play style, I always go for dispersion though. So that's for me. Now, these have really good rudder shifts, but I'm such a fan of dodging to torpedoes that that's what it is for me. You could very well take the propulsion mod too. And with this entire line, this is the one interesting thing I will note. I would actually recommend taking your SAP upgrade first on cruisers. I almost take the range always first, like I did on this one. But knowing what I do about this line now, having played it a lot more, I would definitely go with your SAP artillery upgrade. And then the hull upgrade last. And we will go over and check out the specs. It has health. You hopefully don't want to use it. It's a cruiser. It's respectable health for what it is. The guns. Now, this is where this kind of line changes a little bit. They become heavy cruisers. And I didn't realize that when I was first playing that ship. And let's be honest, early on, I don't even know if I would have been super focused on this until it caught me off guard, and you'll see why here a little bit in the concealment area. The reload time is a little slow, but these things do hit pretty well if you want them to. The traverse time at 25 seconds, like I said, it is slow, but it's better than it was previously in the line. And the torpedoes, very good. They're slow, but they do catch people. This whole line, uh, we've seen them like over 10% accuracy to the ship uh, on your torpedoes, and that is something that is hilarious because nobody sees these torpedoes coming, even though they're slow. It's funny. Solid AA, And now these last two is where this whole entire line shines. These are traits that this line has. While this Trento isn't as quick as the others in the line, it still has really good rudder shift and pretty solid turning radius. The rudder shift on this line, if you want to kite with these, you can. Because it's really hard to hit. Battleships will whiff at you something fierce when you're shifting around if you're doing a good job with it. When they catch you, though, they do catch you. Concealment, again, pretty darn good. I think outside of, there might be a couple that are better. Maybe the British light cruisers, Pan Asian. But again, very good. Now, we're going to talk about this in a second too in here when we get to my stats. Something I didn't realize with this ship right away, because the reload has been the same the whole time, whether it's light or heavy. Very early on, I got caught by that detectability while firing in smoke. You now have that heavy cruiser detectability in your smoke. So be, notice of that while you're in your smoke if you're chasing after destroyers. That's one thing I did. It caught me off guard. So we can go right into the stats right now. Right away in this ship, I got destroyed because of that detectability. I know it sounds crazy, but I think my four first matches, I just got wrecked because of it. Just the way I play the ship, and I'm a very aggressive player by nature. Um, and then after that, once I figured it out, I started doing pretty darn well on it. 54 average damage, which doesn't look good, but if you take them 4 games out where I probably got 0 damage, it's not that bad. And these, the way I play these aren't for damage. I play these as steroid destroyers, and I like hunting the destroyers or using them similar like that. You'll see that in the games more when I talk about them. But if you want, they can do pretty good damage. On armor, it actually has pretty good armor. There is a change again on this ship a little bit here. With this whole line, you do not want to bow take battleships, and you don't need to. It's got good rudder shift. Uh, they don't, they have a normal cruiser bow. We'll take this off here, and we'll go ahead and take a look at this. So the interesting thing about this is while you do have good armor belt, that is your citadel. It is an exposed citadel, and your armor belt, while it is good, that is your citadel. So be careful. And like I said, a trait that follows these things through seems to be the really high in the water citadel. So be careful. You can bounce a lot of shells with these, but when you get caught, it does hurt. As we go ahead and check the other ships and start this battle, it is disclaimer time. This is a beginner's guide with my opinions on how to play and build this ship to help people who need help. This is not for people who think they already know everything about the game. There isn't just one way to play or build any ship. Also, I am just a above average player, not a perfect player. I make mistakes. You're gonna see some in the game. I'm sure of it. Also, I slaughter beautiful languages as good as anyone. It's almost an art form how great I am at wrecking languages. So prepare yourselves. And now to the match. Now, I realized right away that I had the wrong camo on, so my detectability was a little bit farther. So I'm a little bit more careful in the beginning of this match than I normally am. I'm normally charged with these things quite a bit, as you've seen in the other videos. They are, I call it fight or flight. You go in, see if it's worth going in and taking a cap or taking out a destroyer. And if it isn't, you pop your smoke and get out of there and kite. Kite your way out of that fight and get to a better position. And that works really well for me. Now, this match, right away, I kind of see, it's hot spot. This map is notorious for everybody just blitzing the B cap. So I'm a little careful on that in this match. Plus, with a carrier, I'm a little bit more on the cautious side. Um, I am always a person that would rather take two caps on one side than and control them because they're easier to defend the two when you get them than just trying to take one big cap in the middle of a war, which everybody goes for. With that being said, this video is going to be interesting. So, I really like playing these uh, Italian cruisers more like a, uh, I would say more like a, steroid destroyer. Kind of how you would play a lot of times, I guess, the Russian destroyer line. But anyway, we can see that destroyer's popped out right there. I do not want to charge him at that moment. He's got the island to protect him. He's probably sent, as you can see, there's torps right there. So if I had drove right into him, I probably would have been in trouble because he did put them both in the same area. And there is a Nelson which has almost no armor on it. So we're going to take a few shots at that. And I noticed that there is both of the destroyers over here. This is kind of where I want to make my move eventually. And I want to go ahead and get rid of them destroyers. Destroyers are obviously the most important things to get rid of. I have a saying that see a destroyer, shoot a destroyer. Almost anytime I get a chance, I'm going to shoot a destroyer. There's also the Ioba. As you know, I am bottom tier in this match, so I got to be a little on the careful side here. But I'm keeping an eye on where them destroyers are. I really want to make one of them pay if I get the opportunity. That's what these Italian cruisers are so good at doing. Like I said, I see a destroyer, I'm going to shoot it. I take a shot at him. I don't know if I get any hits here. Oh, it looks like one bounced off, I guess. That's very interesting. That being said, I'm not too worried about the battleships in the back. In these Italian cruisers with this rudder shift, this is the one line. Now, you'll laugh later, but this is the one cruiser line where I am not terrified of battleships whatsoever. And sometimes you'll get caught, but for the most part, this rudder shift is going to make it absolutely really hard to get hit. You almost have to get a lucky shot almost, or a really good player to get you. Now, looking at that Zara, that's why I switched to AFP, because he's just sitting there. Now, we're going to try to get the other guns on target as well, but you can see these destroyers, they're trying to get stuff out here. They're torpedoes. So, again, with this rudder shift, it's hard. These are so good against destroyers and battleships that that I don't have much issues with them. These, in a game of, I kind of sometimes look at warships as rock, paper, scissors. These things do not have a weakness. Now, I see that guy sitting right there. Just in case he charges out, them torpedoes are going to take a half an hour to get there anyway, so I'll just throw them out now. They might hit him in 3 years, maybe while he's asleep or something. But this Zara goes dark right before I go to shoot. But I want to make this Zara pay for being fully broadside. And we get another Citadel on him. So we've taken a lot of that Zara's health down. And now this destroyer, I don't know what he's thinking. But remember when I say I've debbed in the last video on the Tier 4 Monahakalugi, when I say I've dev struck more destroyers in this thing, in these Italian cruisers, than I have in every other ship with guns combined, this is why. This SAP just destroys destroyers. I mean, it just murders them. I don't know what it is about it. Obviously, it doesn't overpen, which is good. But yeah, it's almost to a point, and I hate to say it, but when you get good with it, it's almost one of them things where it feels like cheating. And you can see it, even with me taking him out, we're still losing. So they have two caps. That Zara's over there, and he's now dead. So it's even, but we're losing these caps. So my thought process is I'm an Italian destroyer. I can play very similar to or I'm in an Italian cruiser. I can play like a steroid destroyer if I want to. So I really want to push on that Val Queen, and either I'm going to take him out or he's going to take me out. That's my theory here. I want to get into that cap. I want to switch that cap for us. We're losing, and they have 2 point caps. So I really want to change this battle here. And sometimes with cruisers in particularly, you want to be make sure you're around later. A lot of times in cruisers, it's not. I feel like it's not as important with these uh, Italian cruisers, but a lot of cruisers in general, you want to be the last one of the. You want to be around at the end of the match. Now I know that sounds dumb and cliche, but a lot of cruisers have the DPM to really help at the end of a match. And now with these Italian cruisers, I have a tendency to be aggressive, and I like taking out destroyers. A lot of times it pays off for me, sometimes it doesn't. But as you can see now, we have the cap free to go ahead and, even though we have more ships, they have 2 caps, and I really want to change it. That's one thing I want to do. And this carrier, these 2 carriers in this game, not bad players. I will say these were pretty solid carrier players for the most part. So I'm going to pop my smoke because it's getting annoying getting focused by this carrier. So, and he gets me anyway. So we're going to try to get rid of that carrier. I want to get this cap either, at least I'm stopping points right now. But I would like to get this turned around just in case something happens. Now, I see the Nelson out there and the Gneisenau. I'm not scared of the Gneisenau too much. The Nelson goes down. Gneisenau is really far away. And I want to get this cap. And like I said, battleships, not scared of. But, especially a German one at 14 kilometers that is not known for aiming very well. They don't have good accuracy for the most part. I hit this island, shots go over me. Now, I actually had to go back and watch this, as I do actually get the cap. But that Gneisenau from like 15 or 16 kilometers back gets a very nice shot through my bow to Citadel me. I had to go back and look because I'm like, how did I die to a Gneisenau at that distance? And because I was angled for my side plating really well, or my belt to stop it. And we just advance here. Gneisenau runs around, and our carrier gets a Kraken. And even though he gets a Kraken, he does a good game. We even have a better game just because we were fighting with cap control and taking out, worried about destroyers. So, like I said, carrier players in this game were pretty solid, and being a, the low tier in this was fun for me, and it was a good game. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoy this. We'll see you next time, folks. Have a good one.